Greetings, Light Tribe. Janine Palmer here, Silver Moon for Harmony Energy Healing. And today I want to talk about communication and how important it is. How important it always is. How necessary it is for us to be in flow and to try to understand each other better or any and every situation. And I wanted to use a little example of a scenario. Compliments of hackers, because it's just a situation where social media is weird, and sometimes people start getting duplicate friend requests, so they have an idea that someone's been hacked, or they'll get weird videos sent to them on Messenger. And most of the time, if you get something like that, you just have the awareness that you don't open it, and typically tell the person that that's coming over. What I would do is I would delete it, and I might contact the person, or if it's someone I don't really know that well or interact with, I might go to their page, and if I see other people saying, hey, I think you were hacked, there's something going on, then they're aware of it, and then you can just get rid of it or whatever. And so recently I was getting some messages that says from people on my friends list that said, I got a friend request from you, but it had a specific thing that said, do this with these instructions. And I thought, that doesn't sound right. So I didn't do that, which is good, because I later found out if you hold your thumb on it and hold it down to share it, that's actually the hack. So I did a notification on my page that if you get a friend request from me, it's not me. And then I went into my settings, and they do the security check where it'll show you wherever you're logged in, and somebody was logged in to my account from LA. So I logged out of all that, and then I changed my password and got that sorted, and I notified Facebook and everything, and then did the post on my page. And that was a few weeks ago, and you kind of think it's sorted, or whatever. And typically sometimes if something funky's going on, your friends will let you know. Well, something weird happened a couple days ago. One of my friends, she didn't let me know in Messenger. She didn't tell me specifically, hey, I got a weird video. And so it was very confusing for a couple of days. And she came onto my page, to one of my posts, in the comments, and she starts talking about fear, because sometimes we'll discuss about how people use fear against you or whatever. And she asked me about fear, and that was my response, how sometimes people do that. And she goes, yeah, you put a snake on my page. And she's like, why would you do that? What am I guilty of? And I just did not know what she was talking about. I mean, I've had people do stuff to me before. Well, they'll take something and use it against you, and it's like foul. And I thought, oh no, here we go again. It's more of that, So I'm trying to respond to her, and to the best that I can from my limited understanding. So I'm in this moment of not knowing what she's talking about. And then I remembered something from like a couple months ago when we would talk on Messenger. Whatever we were talking about, I would put GIFs up, or stickers, but usually GIFs that are funny, that relate to what we were talking about, and she would laugh. So anyway, she was mentioning somebody was talking about reptilians. This was like a month and a half, 2 months ago at this point. And so I Googled, in the GIF thing, I put in the name of what I'm looking for, reptile or whatever. So I sent a picture of some baby alligators and some colorful lizards, and some of them were sticking their tongues out. She's like, no, don't send me that. I don't want that. I don't like snakes. I'm like, they're not snakes, they're lizards. But anyway, I'm like, okay, well, I'm done, and I won't do it. And she was laughing. And so I didn't think there was any big deal with that. But when this thing came up and she was talking about a snake on her Messenger page or whatever, I thought that must be what she's talking about. But why is she bringing it up now? How come all of a sudden it's this big issue? And why does she think that I did it to her to be obnoxious or something? I just couldn't figure it out. So she's like, I don't know, she's asking me why I did that. And I'm like, it was a joke. In other words, the lizard gifts were joking around. It was just kidding. You know, it was just being funny in a way. Not done to harass or anything like that. Anyway, so she had received a video from like a hacker video of snakes. Apparently she went to open it up and she said she heard this hissing and she's like, oh no, I don't want to go there. And then later when she asked someone to look at it to see what it was gone. And that's probably because Facebook deleted it, I would assume. But another friend got it who she talks to and who I talk to. And she looked at it and said it was like a woman dancing with snakes. So my friend was mad because she does not like snakes. And she felt like I knew she didn't like snakes, so why would I do that? Well, I didn't do that, but she thought I did that. And especially when she asked me, why did you do it? And I thought she was talking about something else. And I was trying to answer to the best of my ability what I was talking about. It was wrong. It didn't apply. So it's another misperception. So first there's the misunderstanding and the misperception. Okay, that led into the next level of misunderstanding or misperception. Of me saying it's a joke, meaning the gifts from before, not what she was talking about, but I didn't know what she was talking about because she didn't make herself clear on the comment portion of my post. So she said something about my behavior and something about being wounded, and I'm like, I just didn't know, and that she forgive me, and I'm like, I forgive you too, and I didn't do anything to you. So then I tried to talk to her on Messenger and it just wasn't going anywhere. So what I was referring to is I said, hey, I went back to that stuff and I looked, there was no snakes there. I didn't send you a picture of a snake. I said it was baby alligators and lizards. But I guess she didn't understand that I was talking about something else, and I was obviously in confusion because I said I went looking for a snake and I didn't find a snake picture. So you would think that my response is showing that I don't have awareness of snake video. Okay, so communication, and I'm like, so I explained to her about the potential hack situation, and she remembered seeing the post that I had done about that on my page. So the reason I'm giving this detail about this information is it's about communication. So like, I just kind of felt like, I guess even the other friend who saw it didn't bring it to my attention, and you know, I don't know, some people figure out that it's just something bogus, but other people think that someone did something foul and they hold it against them, and that's what started to happen in this case. So from what she was saying is that I was in a group with her. She took me off as admin, and so she told me she did that, but at the time I really still didn't know why. But I just agreed, you know, and so I'm trying to think of everything that applied to that. But it wasn't going anywhere with trying to communicate in that angry, upset energy when people are not on the same page and they don't have the same information. They're not open enough to be able to listen, to talk to each other and hear what's being said. So she just said she just thought maybe this friendship would come to an end. I'm like, okay. And she's like, but I forgive you. And I'm like, I forgive you too. And she goes, and I hope you find peace. And I said, thanks, you too. But the things that were being said to me were so off base, and they so unfair and accusing, because I knew I didn't do anything and she was convinced that I had. So I left the group that we were in together because I thought we had been working on a common goal together, doing similar works, and we had been for a while. And then I unfriended because I've gone through this with people before, and I've been too nice and too forgiving, and these people would repeat these patterns, and I just learned the hard way and thought, I'm not going through this again. And then I actually blocked on Messenger because I just didn't want any more stuff coming through. And a couple days later, I figured out how to unblock, and she started talking to me on the page again, and we finally discussed it and figured out. But she's like, well, you sent that video. I said, I didn't send you a video. I don't know what you're talking about. So once we finally started talking about it, and she said in more detail what it was that she was reacting to, and then I could tell her, I didn't send that. I'm not in the habit of, if I know that a friend is afraid of something, that I'm going to, harass them, terrorize them, or play mean jokes on them. I don't do that. Um, so, and the other time with the gifts, she had been laughing. So at the time, I didn't think it was a big deal. That's why I was really surprised. That's the only thing I could think of that it might be. And why is it coming up now? Just absolutely mass confusion because of lack of communication. So these hackers do this funky stuff where they harass people and they cause people problems. Why? They have nothing better to do. Do they think it's funny? Because, yeah, it causes people problems sometimes. But in this case, actually, it made some people learn some lessons, because that behavior that I was seeing was similar to some crap behavior that I had been through with people before. And I started to see that behavior and I thought, and I could actually see my progress in my reaction or lack thereof, of how I just decided I wasn't going to let it bother me. I knew it wasn't mine and I wasn't really going to react, but I still do writings about it, and teach what I learn, but what I learn is from a limited perspective. So her behavior reminded me of behavior of someone else who twisted things around to use them against me, and that's what it looked like was happening, but I still couldn't understand why. But what it was a misunderstanding, and it was a big lack of communication. So something was learned as far as opening up and listening. Okay, in other words, where someone might be more open to listen than maybe they would at some point before, because people close off and they assume they're right and they just don't want to hear it. But like, if you hear it, then you're going to learn something, and if you're open, you're going to learn something. So in this case, we both learned something, because we can only respond and react to the amount of information that we have at the time, which is limited. It's actually always limited. The more information that we get, the better we understand it. And that can only come through communication, being open. If we're too reactionary because we're in habit of it, or because we've been hurt, we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to get far. So communication is huge. I just wanted to use this as an example for how misunderstandings came way out of whack, because this friendship was starting to just get blown apart because something was misperceived, something wasn't communicated fully or well enough, and then it was completely misunderstood on the other side, and I just decided to pull away from it. It's like, I don't want to get drawn into this, because I didn't even know what this was. So we definitely both learn from it. And in the meantime, when we don't know what's going on and all this other stuff, these thoughts are going through people's head, these feelings are going through you of, stuff that happened before that maybe you think you've resolved, but you haven't fully resolved. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to share this as an example to show the importance of communication. Is just crucial, because if she would have carried on thinking that I did that, then she's holding something against me through false information, because she misunderstood something, because she thinks a video came through from my name, so I had to have sent it. No, hackers do that. They get in there and they send stuff from your thing, your messenger, and it looks like it came from you, but it didn't. Happens all the time. And some people just realize, oh, okay, I know this happens, and she would never send something like that. And other people then might believe something about you that isn't true, and that feels hurtful, because it feels like, okay, well, this person obviously doesn't know me. And you know what? If they don't know you and they're going to hold it against you, then you have to sometimes just let that go and let that be what it is, even though it doesn't feel good to me, whatever. So sometimes we hold things against people which are not true, and it creates suffering in ourselves and others. So it's very important to be aware that things are not always what they seem. What we are reacting to might not be exactly what we think it is. And if we're open and we let that information come in and we let people talk and communicate, it doesn't always happen perfectly, but if we do that, and if people can be open and communicate, we can learn something, we can learn enough to help solve the mystery, to get to the bottom of it, at least to have a better understanding, enough so that we don't have to hold things against each other. And, you know, there was stuff coming in verbally to my, that was like a type of attack. And it's like, this ain't mine. But I couldn't at that time communicate because it wasn't being heard. I was trying to communicate, but it wasn't being heard. So a couple days go by, and then communication happens, and then guess what? We can still be friends, which we like that friendship. So it's so important because it's about honoring each other, and to be truthful about a situation, about ourselves, goes a long way. Again, just realizing that we don't have all the information, and a lot of times how we're reacting might be causing us or others to suffer, and it's unnecessary because we're reacting to limited information and or falsehoods. So sorry it's such a long video, but something to think about.